Morning. Morning, everyone. Welcome today to our Wednesday morning meditation on this slightly cooler day. It looks like a little overcast where I am. So this month of September, we've been looking at some mindful movement in a seated posture and having some options for moving the body either before as a lead into meditation or perhaps during our practice can be really valuable. Sometimes the body has a little pent-up energy that it needs to release in order to then sit in stillness. And sometimes in longer meditations, we may find we're getting a little apathetic and drowsy. And so having a mindful movement practice that we can do while seated can bring some freshness and aliveness back into our continuing meditation practice. So yes, we're coming to the end of our mindful movement seated. For the moment, it's just nice to have a little gentle focus for each of our sessions together, our gatherings. And so this week I was thinking, what could we explore together today? And I have two mindful movement practices that I'd like to share with you that sort of bookend our practice. So one at the beginning of our practice and one at the end. So I'll give you some background to both of these, and then we will begin our practice, and I will guide you through each of them again at the appropriate time. So our first one is a very simple one, as I guess most practices are. Simply, we're going to use our hands, mindfulness of touch, and we're going to place one hand across the chest or the heart space and the other hand on the belly. So we've got one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly, and we're going to rest our hands there. Now, there's the sense of touch. So during this part of our practice, we have an awareness of touch, the touch of our hand resting on our body. You may also feel some warmth. There's a sense of grounding or stabilizing when we touch our chest and our belly. So that can be a nice concept. So we're holding our chest. We may feel our heart beating, and our other hand, our primary anchor, if you like, for this practice is on the belly. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring a mindful awareness to the movement of our belly and the movement of our breath. So what we're actually doing is we're observing our breath at the belly, but we're also noting how our breath is traveling and the efficiency and effectiveness of our breath. So when we are born into this world as a child, we breathe very efficiently and very effectively. And in part, that is because our breath is very relaxed and we're breathing deep down into what feels like our belly. And you can see this if you watch a child sleeping. There's a lot of movement in the belly. And this is diaphragmatic breathing. And this is the most effective way to bring fresh oxygen into the body and to release carbon dioxide. Now, we do this quite naturally when we're born into this form of being human on this earth. But what happens, unfortunately, is as we get older, we tend to get into some challenging habits around our breath, and we fall out of practice in diaphragmatic breathing. So a large part of breath work and pranayama, which is breath mastery in the yoga tradition, and just simple breath techniques, is to re-engage us to relearn this more effective way of breathing, this diaphragmatic breathing. And what that is the diaphragm is a dome-like muscle at the bottom of the lungs. And what happens is when you breathe in, that muscle contracts and shifts downward in order for the lungs to expand, so that the lungs can take a really good, healthy inhalation. And then when you breathe out, that muscle relaxes and shifts up again. Now, there's nothing that you need to do, but simply taking your awareness to that area of the body and how you breathe lower into the belly, if you like, can help the diaphragm and reconnect you with that way of breathing. So that's what we're doing with this practice. We are going to bring our hands mindfully, slowly move our hands into this position with one hand across the chest, holding the heart, and the other hand across the belly. And then we're going to breathe, and we're just going to bring our gentle focus to our belly, and it should be, our hand should be moving at the belly. The hand at the chest will be quite still, hopefully. We don't want to be chest breathing, we want to be belly breathing. So when we're correctly breathing in this way, the heartbeat starts to slow. Our blood pressure will also start to slow and drop, and we activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest, relax process that occurs quite naturally. So this will be one of the exercises that we do, mindful movement of the breath through the body and through the belly. And then we'll shift into our own personal silent practice. And you may like to, and I will recommend perhaps that you just stay with your breath at the belly and just continue to observe, that inner observer, just observing your breath in a very relaxed way, noticing how your belly moves as you breathe. And then our second mindful movement practice for today is going to be at the end of our meditation. And this is something that I do pretty much almost every time that I meditate. It's a beautiful close. It's the way to finish my practice that brings me the greatest joy. And I like to dedicate my practice in this way, which is a very traditional Buddhist concept, to dedicate the merit of our practice. And I'm not sure where I learned this, but what I'm going to invite you to do is to finish your practice today with me in this way. And what I do is I bring my hands together into prayer pose, Anjali Mudra or Namaste pose, where we bring our hands together with a gentle pressure, mindfully aware of fingers touching and a gentle pressure, and thumbs, and there'll be a natural hollowness at the palms. So we're bringing our hands together. And the way that I finish my meditation practice is that I bring my hands together at the chest, and then I bring my hands up, the prayer pose, up to my forehead or third eye, and I silently note kind thoughts. And then I drift my hands to my lips, kind words, and then my hands to my heart, kind heart. Kind thoughts, kind words, kind heart. Sometimes it might be gentle thoughts, gentle words, gentle heart, or it might be loving or open. Kind is the one that I use most often. And this season of spring, in the quiet mind world and the meditation box, has the theme of loving kindness. So it works well with our practices this season. So I just repeat that once and then let my hands rest in my lap for a few moments to allow that dedication to fill me and to just sit with it for a moment, and then we will finish our practice together. So these will be our 2 mindful movements for today. So let's get started with our practice. So I'd invite you to find a position of comfort, to take a moment to acknowledge to yourself that you're going to step now into this meditative space, that you're going to let go of any tasks that you may have been doing or anything about your day that you may be stepping away from that you can come back to later, but there's nothing that you need to think about, there's nothing that you need to do. For the next little while, we're just going to drift into our meditation practice. Now I would invite you to close your eyes or just soften your gaze to the floor, shifting that awareness inward and just noticing how you've placed your body. And if there's anything you might adjust or mindfully move in order to find a little bit more comfort or stability or grounding in your posture. So if you're seated upright, starting with a relatively straight back and upright posture, that sense of the top of your head reaching up to touch the sky, and the lower limbs, the buttocks, the feet, grounding you to the earth. Having your hands comfortably in your lap, inviting your shoulders to soften, checking that your chin is not floating up, maybe just tucking the chin in a little, softening the face. And we'll begin with a couple of cleansing breaths. 3 breaths in your own time, taking a nice long, slow, deeper breath through the nostrils as you breathe in, and then breathing out through the mouth. Again, a long, slow exhalation, encouraging all of that breath to leave your body. A couple of cleansing breaths. Without rushing, just a little deep enjoyment for being able to fill the body with fresh, life-giving air. And as you exhale, an opportunity to just soften, release, let go. And then just allow your breath to settle back, to find its own natural rhythm. We don't want to control the breath or change the breath, other than just to notice and an awareness of your hands resting in your lap, noticing still hands, soft hands. When you're ready, we're going to gently float our hands up through space. This is part of our mindful movement, releasing the hands, allowing the hands to gently float through the air, feeling the coolness of the air against the skin on your hands. We're going to bring one hand to rest across the chest and the other hand to rest across the lower belly. Wherever feels comfortable, but towards the lower belly, and just resting your hands there. And just notice what it feels like to have your hands touching your body. Perhaps you can feel the heaviness or the weight of your hands gently pressing against your body. Perhaps you notice some warmth radiating between your belly and your hand, or your chest and your hand. Just notice. And then a growing awareness of your breath. Just noticing when you breathe in, if you direct your breath gently deep down into your belly, perhaps to meet your hand that's resting on your belly. Can you notice your belly expanding to meet your breath? And then as you breathe out, feeling your belly softening back in towards the body, releasing the breath. Cultivating this awareness of this very gentle, mindful movement at the belly. And by gently resting our awareness to the belly and to the touch of our hand across our belly, the body will naturally expand and deepen its breath, your breath, deeper into the lungs. And this can also activate the relaxation response. Simply noticing your breath at the belly and the touch of your hand as your belly expands on the inhalation and then softens back, releasing the breath on the exhalation. Right, keep your hands in this position as we shift into our silent practice, or you may soften your hands, another mindful movement, releasing the hands gently to float back down into your lap or onto your knees, aware of each micro movement until your hands can rest again in your lap or on your thighs. My invitation to you is to continue to rest your awareness at your belly, either with your hands present or not, just to continue following your breath. And if you get distracted, as is quite natural, just notice that and kindly invite your awareness and attention back to your breath and that mindful movement of your belly with the breath. And I shall watch the time and come back so we can finish our meditation together. And as we come to finish our practice for today, bringing that gentle half smile to your lips, that mindful movement of bringing and gently holding a half smile. And then bringing your hands together at your heart center in prayer pose, Anjali Mudra, Namaste, a universal gesture, one that surpasses language barriers, a gesture of gratitude, a greeting, a sign of prayer, holding that posture, feeling the fingers and thumbs and palm touching, bringing it up to your forehead, your third eye. You might silently dedicate kind thoughts, bringing your hands down to your lips, kind words, floating your hands down to your heart space, kind heart. Resting here a moment, just allowing those words to resonate. Taking a couple of deeper inhalations, bringing some fresh oxygen into the body, bringing some mindful movement to the fingers and toes, straightening your posture. And then when you're ready, if you would like to, opening your eyes and coming back to your day. Thank you for sharing meditation with me today, connecting with our breath and relearning some diaphragmatic breathing, the best way to breathe, and a little closing blessing that I love to include at the end of my practice. You might like to come up with something that resonates with you. And this week, as you go out into the world, you might want to just touch your belly at times and see how your breath is going. You might also like to extend some kindness to the world that you've been cultivating in your practice today. So thank you. And next week, October, I thought we will bring some loving kindness meditation to our Wednesday mornings. So a whole month of loving kindness. Have a beautiful week, everyone. I will see you next week. Thank you so much.